So the questions are these. How can we really activate the best of the private sector to meet the challenges of the real world? Is there a way to accelerate my career that doesn't involve boring online or classroom courses? And can I really impact people in the developing world with the skills that I have? Can I finally feel proud of what I know? Those are the questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Philippa White, and this is TIE Unearthed. Keep listening, and you can follow us on our journey as we show you how we're connecting the private sector with the social sector to make change. Hello everyone, Philippa White here, and welcome to episode 16 of TIE's podcast. Today I'm chatting with Gav Thompson, and he's going to tell us about becoming a corporate pirate from the inside out and the importance of the moment. Hi Gav.
Hey Philippa, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for joining us. We did this recently, and it's great to do it again with
It's great to be on the other side of the desk. I tell you, I'm sitting here very relaxed. Normally when I'm doing the interviewing, I'm kind of post-it notes everywhere, a little bit stressed, on the edge. So it's very chilled. So very good of you to have me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm honored to have you on. You're amazing. So thank you. Now, before I go any further, because I want our listeners to understand a little bit more about you. So Gav has become a friend of mine. He is the host of the Do Lectures podcast and kindly interviewed me the other week. And if you haven't heard it already, it was just launched on Friday. So look out for it if you haven't seen it already. Now, the Do Lectures is an incredibly inspiring organization. And I really enjoy listening to the podcasts. So don't just listen to mine. Have a look at the other ones as well, because they're really, really great. They're on my list, and I get the update when they come out. And funnily enough, Gav was also the boss of one of our TIE alumni, Harry Dromey, after he went on TIE. So, yeah, which is funny.
I also, actually, sorry to interrupt, I also think Alice Hooper is one of your lot.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I think I got Alice her first job in advertising back in 2002-3, TBWA. So, yeah, our paths have been intertwined. Yeah.
So after a failed attempt, these are in Gav's words, after a failed attempt to be an actor and to get into a boy band. That's interesting, Gav. Gav spent 13 mostly successful years in advertising agencies in various parts of the world. He's a creative brand-focused, customer-centric CMO, CCO, with 26 years experience across multiple brands and sectors in the UK, US, Asia, and Australia. And he tries to be the pirate inside when he can, leading to pretty incredible results so far. And so we're going to be talking about all of this now. So first of all, what I'd love you to talk about, just to kind of kick things off, is to talk about the Do Lectures, because I am so inspired by David Hyatt. And when I found out about the Do Lectures and him, and I just have to do a quick shout out to Michael Jagger, because it was you that told me about them. So thank you. I started to get the emails and follow him on LinkedIn. Talk about inspiration. And anyone listening, I just highly recommend doing this too. So please, Gav, can you bring to life the Do Lectures for our listeners and all that they do? Because there's so much that you guys do.
So the Do Lectures is, as you just rightly described, an amazing and a beautiful thing. I'm very, very, very lucky to be part of it. And it's interesting. It's from a kind of brand marketing point of view. It's an amazing thing that has incredibly high consideration, but not quite the awareness it deserves. I don't know a single person that's aware of the Do Lectures that doesn't love it, genuinely. But also, you know, it's such a kind of under the radar thing, and that's part of what I'm trying to address with the podcast. So I'll tell you the kind of history of it. It's set up by a husband and wife team, David and Claire Hyatt, both interestingly ex-advertising, and both had also set up a clothing brand from within their advertising world called Howie's, which was a very, very cool, again, under the radar sort of skatewear brand in the late 90s, sort of early 2000s, which they then sold on. And so in selling Howie's, I think David and Claire made a bit of money. And then they did two things. They set up a denim factory in Cardigan Bay called Hyatt Denim, Hiut, which is in itself an amazing story and brand, where they rehired lots of the old denim workers who'd lost their jobs. Cardigan used to be, I think, the largest denim producer in the UK. And so they've sort of rebuilding denim and jeans manufacture in Cardigan with Hyatt, and that's an amazing story. And then the Do Lectures is the sort of other side of their coin, which is, it's really hard to define. It's a similar format to TED, but it's very different in how it does things. It's much less glossy. It's much more earthy. It's much more Welsh. It was set up in a sort of chicken shed, cow shed, on a farm in 2007 in Cardigan Bay, and it's still, 14 years later, still run out of a chicken shed in Cardigan Bay. And the format is again similar to TED. It's 20-minute talks. But the beauty of it, there's lots of beauties of it. But one is just the quality of guests. They're not the kind of glitzy, perhaps more kind of ego-driven TED presenters. It's much more people who've kind of had brilliant ideas, and then just gone on and made them happen. The do bit's obviously very important to that, and it's just, I was so lucky to go there in 2011. I was, a friend of mine, Sarah Davies, colleague of mine when I was at O2, I don't know why I wasn't aware of it. Again, it's so kind of low, it's so low key, kind of under the radar. So 2011, it's been 4 years.
So you didn't work with David. You didn't work with David in advertising.
No.
I thought it was a colleague kind of thing. Oh, how funny.
Oh, well, we were colleagues at AMV. Sorry, back in the day, we're going back a long time now, late 90s, when I was the account director on the Volvo account. David was one of the kind of creatives on the Volvo account. And so we made very, average Volvo ads. I hope you won't mind me saying that. We worked together at Abbott Mead Vickers in the late 90s. So we were sort of colleagues and friends. And then I went off to the States and went off to Australia, and sort of missed out on the birth of Do. And then, funnily enough, my friend Sarah said, "You must come to this event. It looks amazing." And I was looking at it, and I saw David's face. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming." And we went, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the energy, the people running it, the guests. David and Claire are just amazing people, and it was just, it's a 3-day event. In those days, you camped in this forest.
So cool.
It was very cool, very kind of campfirey, very guitar, very chilled. There's no phone reception there, so you have to sort of disconnect from the outside world, and you meet some fab people, some of whom are still my friends now. And it's a kind of, everyone I think who's done it says it's a life-changing event. They've kept it very small. There's still only 100 guests sort of allowed. It sells out literally within minutes. Sadly, last year they couldn't do it for all the obvious reasons. They're hoping to do it in July 2021 or June or July 2021. And it's amazing. And I guess we're coming full circle back to the awareness, which is not that many people are aware of it. That's because probably there's only 100 seats, but the lectures are all online. I was very lucky to be asked back to do my own lecture in 2012, which I guess we're going to talk about in a minute. Which is available for anyone who has 20 minutes of their life to spare. I think it's 22 minutes actually. It's got a song at the end of it, but there you go.
It's
which I wrote for the occasion. We'll get to that.
Yeah, tell us how, because I'd be interested to know how the podcast happened, but just maybe before that, if you just want to, because there's so much, I'm just impressed with the Do Lectures, because they have books that come out of the lectures. It's also such a genius marketing tool for such a worthwhile. I mean, it's all about inspiration. He talks a lot about be curious, and in his emails, it's be curious. On the website, it's be curious. But even to get to the website, you have to give your email address, and then you start to get, the podcast. You get obviously updates to when they're going to be doing these incredible lectures.
Yeah, I would echo what you just said, Philippa. It's a few minutes reading some of David's. He does daily emails. It is a few minutes of your day well spent. They're inspirational. They're funny, right?
They're just. I mean, it's his emails. I think it's daily. I mean, I don't know where he gets his.
It's daily.
I just don't know where he gets the amount of content, but I mean, you just read it. I remember actually, it was hilarious. It was about a few months ago. It was as if he was in my head. He said, how many of you listen to the same music track or the same album or the same, on repeat? And he said, I've been listening to it on repeat for 15 years. And he listens to the same album. And he said, whenever I'm writing, I put on the same. Who can relate? And I thought, oh my God, I swear to God, because I have this one album that I've been listening to it's only when I write. It's only when I write. And I put it on. It's so hilarious. It's I don't even know where I got it from. I don't even know what it is, what it's called. I don't know. I put it into it's from like 20 years ago, and there's no words. There's very small, but it's more electronic music, I think. But it's the only thing I can block out the entire world. My children can be having a war downstairs. I can't hear them. I put this on as loud as I possibly can. It doesn't distract me. And it gives me, I just get the most incredible energy. And then I can create all my best writing has been to this one. Actually, I need to get it now that I'm saying this to you. Yeah, what's yours, by the way?
You can't plug it and then not tell us what it is, because
I know you're right. You're right.
I actually don't. I listen to it. I'm totally the opposite. I have kind of an album a week, where I just listen to an album a week. I blast it and then I move on to the next thing.
Can it have words?
Yeah, it can have words. I mean, I'm kind of going through just a George Harrison sort of. I've gone back to discover George Harrison's album, All Things Must Pass, which is a brilliant album from 1971, which was the year of my birth, which, as we discussed last time, I just had my 50th last weekend. And I was doing that thing you do where you go.
A message and I didn't send it.
Oh, don't worry. Yes. What amazing things happened in 71? Thank you. And you get to very quickly George Harrison's album, which I think was number one for like 10 weeks in the US. So that's how I rediscovered it a few weeks ago. Anyway, we digress. David Hyatt is. I would urge your listeners to definitely sort of tune into his daily blog, his daily LinkedIn posts. He's a very special individual for one reason really, which is he's exceptionally talented to the point of kind of unbelievable sort of wisdom and knowledge and just insight. He's an unbelievable creative. But, and this is the kicker, he's an unbelievably lovely man. David is incredibly talented. He's built 2 businesses. He's sold one for a reasonable amount of money, I suspect. And he's built the Do Lectures from scratch, which is, highly respected. Back to the consideration. People that know about it love it. It's been voted one of the best 5 ideas festivals in the world by various, newspapers. It's had 150 million views of the lectures. Even the podcast, which is a much smaller part of it, have had 110,000 listens. And he's just very humble, normal, incredibly lovely, warm. He's an amazing guy. I'm very proud to call him a friend. And also, I guess he's my boss on this project. And it's just amazing how he finds the time to still be as amazing as he is.
So talk to us about the Do Lectures, actually, because it brings us nicely to you. There was a bit of a story there that you were going to tell us. He asked you to do it, and also because I really want to hear about your lecture as well.
Sure. Okay. So like I said, I was at O2. I was in this pretty corporate role. I was the head of brand strategy at O2, and it was my first kind of corporate gig, having been in agencies for 13 years and had a really good run at agencies, worked for some amazing people at AMV and BBDO New York and TBWA London and Mojo in Sydney, and then had set up an agency with some sort of ex-AMV partners, and it just Campbell Doyle Dye, it was called. It was amazing. I had a really good 13-year career, and then for a bunch of reasons I thought, right, I'm going to go corporate. With a lot of trepidation and a lot of sort of, is this me? And as you remember, Philippa, in those days, there was quite a lot of that kind of us and them agency client. The clients were generally perceived to be not very smart, not very creative. And, a little bit of disdain, a little bit of, you got the odd one. We had, our Guinness client had obviously bought the fantastic work that we did for, the surfer ad and all that good stuff. He was, Andy Fennell, right, shout out to Andy. And my Volvo clients, that we did the Tony K stuff with them. But, generally there was a thing that clients, that was a kind of sellout. There was a joke you'd kind of wear polyester short sleeve shirts and have, lots of pens in your top pocket, all the kind of cliches. Anyway, so I which is sort of nonsense and not helped by the fact that O2's offices were in Slough, on the Slough business estate, which is actually where The Office was filmed, where, Wernham Hogg is based. So anyway,
oh my God, really? That's
lots
so
of
funny.
kind of cliches and madness. Yeah. And so I went and I actually had a fantastic time, but was sort of still very aware that all my kind of cool mates still worked in advertising, and I drove out to the Slough business estate every day and, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, my friend Sarah, who was also ex-agency, we were at O2 together, and she said, let's go to the Do Lectures. And I was like, great, David Hyatt. It was one of those. It wouldn't happen now but it was a last minute thing. We got in and we literally were there like a week later. Wow. And I turned up and I hadn't seen David for probably 10 years. Lots of hugging, and then had this amazing experience. And on the last night, kind of somewhat sort of fueled by whiskey, I was eulogizing about, mate, this is so amazing. This has got me back in touch with kind of ideas and creativity and some of. The thing you miss when you work outside of agency world is agencies are generally fueled by creatives and their ideas.
Yeah.
And when you go to corporate world, there's just a different set of dynamics that keep the wheels turning. And I missed that. And on the back of the Do Lectures, I was like saying to Dave, this is amazing. You've kind of re-energized my da-da-da. And I did say, which is I just sort of stepped out, and this was very late. And again, much whiskey had been consumed. I said something like, but I feel really self-conscious. He was like, why? He goes, because everyone here is, they've all done good. There's a very strong DNA and central gravity of people that have made the world a better place. And I said, look, I'm a corporate dude, and frankly, I think everyone here thinks I'm a wanker. And it was just a great sort of line to feed him. And he said, well, why don't you come back next year and tell them why you're not, right? It was so good. And it was it sounds like one of those kind of made up, but that's how good he is, that he just came straight back with it. So anyway, so a year later, I came back and I did I opened the Do Lectures actually in 2012 with a talk about, somewhat borrowed from my friend Adam Morgan, who wrote a fantastic book after eating the big fish. He wrote another book called The Pirate Inside, which is all about how people within organizations, predominantly or not exclusively corporates, can actually be a force for good and can actually make things better from the inside and can actually be a kind of power from the inside. So I went back and did this talk on, called The Pirate Inside. Again, thanks to Adam for that kind of insight, and talked about how actually being in the big corporate place like O2, which was the biggest mobile network in the country, which was part of Telefonica, which is one of the biggest businesses in the world, certainly the biggest company in Spain, one of the biggest telcos in the world. But actually, and I'd been there 5 years at that point, and I was actually doing stuff I was proud of. I was actually doing some stuff that I was, making an impact on the world, on society. And it was sort of, that was the talk I gave, was in essence that actually don't write off corporates, don't write off people that work in corporates, because there's a lot of people within that environment that actually do have the tools and the skills and the resources to make the world a better place.
Totally. And I actually, because I'm just going to bring people up to speed a little bit. So our listeners that don't know, because I'm aware that some people have come across this, perhaps don't know much about TIE, we connect the corporate world, corporate professionals, with social initiatives across the globe. And we create, our sort of goal, if you like, is to create the leaders that the world needs now by allowing people to get out of their bubble and see the world through a different lens. And it's really fascinating listening to your Cowshed Do Lectures initial kind of pre-doing your lecture story of, it's often you just need that opportunity to kind of snap out of the monotony of life, snap out of kind of your usual just social network, your usual just information that you're getting. And is the moment that you see things from a different point of view, it's so powerful. And so that's what we create as well in obviously different ways. But obviously these new perspectives and new abilities and new insights give people the confidence and the knowledge that the abilities that they have are powerful to make change. And the idea is to inspire professionals to use that drive and energy and new vision to then be the change and that they want to see in this world, but also be that change maker in the company that they work in. So obviously when I watched your Do lecture and I heard about your we often say, you don't need to or work in this helping people industries or sell your soul to the devil and work in the private sector. Actually it is possible to do both.
I like, lots of people kind of joined advertising because I wanted to do the creative thing. I wanted to, make ads. I was a frustrated sort of actor. I'd studied drama at university. I thought I wanted to be a director or an actor or even a comedian. Gosh, amazing. And then, like a lot of people, thank you. You're very kind. And actually stumbled into, advertising because, like lots of people, you kind of go, like, I'm not good enough to be a performer or a professional creative. I'm going to go into advertising. Had such a good time, 13 years, a real blast. But like a lot of people, and your stories, as we discussed last week, Philip, is very similar. You get to a point where you realise you are just flogging shit. You are just making cartoons for the TV, pretty pictures. You're the colouring in department, all those cliches. And after 13 years, I'd been lucky enough to work on really good campaigns like the Guinness campaign, like PlayStation, like Volvo, like Absolute Vodka, like 3, blah, 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 blah. And you just go, look, there has to be something else to this. And that's led me into corporate world. And then I had this different frustration, which was, look, I'm building a brand and I'm doing really great things. And I loved O2. It's a fantastic business. They really looked after me. But I was then missing both the kind of creative bit of it and also the any form of altruism, which hadn't had in all my career. I'd done a funny thing, not a funny thing. So my dad was this is a roundabout way of me getting to the point. My dad was a vet in the army, actually, and he began to the top of the army vet world. He ran the army veterinary corps. He bought all the horses for the cavalry. He briefly was the Queen's honorary vet.
Wow.
So corgis amazing corgis and cavalry horses. Never did the corgis again. That's just for the sake of the story. Lots of the army dogs and stuff. Wow. And then he jacked it all in and went to work for a charity in Egypt and Pakistan and Jordan and India called the Brook Hospital for Animals. And what he did was became their director. And what they did was, help working horses get better, donkeys and horses that were someone's livelihood, and then getting the horse better, that would feed a family, for a year. So it was a lovely indirect way of sort of making his skills as a vet and a senior vet play in the charity world. And that kind of planted the seed, which was let's use what you're good at for the benefit of the world and society. And if my dad could do it, who was this very kind of stiff, formal colonel in the army, that was an inspiration for me. So I then, after sort of school, between school and uni, I toddled off to India to work in a leper colony with some friends. And I learned a very important lesson then, which was a lot of Westerners going to work in the West in that era. So when I was 18, 19, with zero skills, frankly, was a bit embarrassing, right? Because I went to work in this leper colony for 3 or 4 months, working on a farm, building houses. And guess what? The lepers were much better at working on a farm and building houses than I was. And a lot of them didn't have any hands or feet, which was kind of awkward, where we're building houses and they're laying bricks faster without any hands than I can as a young, fit 18-year-old. Yeah. So that taught me that thing, which is, by just turning up, that doesn't actually do good. And actually, in some ways, it was a hindrance. Now, there was some positivity which I realised much later, which was the social impact of Western white people coming to work with them side by side, eating with them, hugging them. Whereas, leprosy is a social disease as much as a medical disease, which they all get thrown out of their villages, their communities. And as to have me and my friends there kind of, just down with them, helped them in some small way, but it helped me massively. But I was aware that I liked helping society, but I just didn't want to be. Anyway, I'm sort of long way round of going. So when I got to O2, I kind of finally had these tools, this budget and will to make an impact. And so I worked on a bunch of things. I mean, I'll start with the one that gave me the permission to be more of an ideas guy, which was GIFGAF. So I was the founder of GIFGAF. I set that business up from within O2 with a small team of kind of colleagues.
Tell people very quickly what would be the one-liner of what it is for people who don't
GIFGAF is a mobile phone network. The difference with it is, even now, 12 years, 11 years after launch, it's run by its community. So the customers run the business effectively. They help decide on all the business decisions. They do most of the marketing is member marketing. And the important difference is they run all the customer service. There's no call centers, there's no shops. The community run it for the benefit of the community. Now, that sounds a little bit more altruistic than it really is, but it's, compared to most of its competitors, it is run on some principles. The manifesto that I wrote in 2008 is still the manifesto on the website that they run the business by. And it's still, even now, with a new management team, it's still, a very, very well-run, very kind of customer-centric mobile phone network. Yeah. And in some ways, for me, that was rewarding because it was kind of the way I wanted to do mobile marketing. That was one of our initial ideas, initial straplines was, the mobile phone network for people that hate mobile phone networks. And so what that allowed you to do was just take away all the crap, all the kind of contracts and, just nasty long words and all the kind of tie you in. It's a sort of freedom, free to come, free to go.
Making it more human, right, Gav?
Making it more human. And that in some ways helped me kind of, manage my own sort of misgivings about working for the man. That was another campaign we did. But also, what importantly, gave me this kind of license within O2 to actually get other stuff done, stuff that was much more tangible and going to help people. So there was two. So I guess what I'm saying is sometimes it helps to, you've got to play the long game. You've got to get the respect of your bosses. You've got to get some equity and relation and reputation within the business in order to then go off and do much more obvious, positive, altruistic.
Yeah, totally.
And so up on the back of GIFGAF, I did a couple of things. One was, really helped drive their kind of CSR program, which was called Think Big, and really, help the business take that really seriously and push that into the community and make sure we had proper marketing budget allocated to it. Make sure that it became a bigger thing than it was, and again, that was a team decision, but a team effort. But it was to have me as the brand guy really leaning into that program and project. I think helped escalate it up the food chain a bit. And then the second thing, which is probably the thing I'm most proud of, but again, a bit like what we said about the Do Lectures, kind of low awareness, high consideration, was I set up a thing called O2 Learn. Now, O2 Learn, it ran for about 5 or 6 years, was based on an idea I'd had when I was training to be a teacher. So that's something else I've done. When I was considering being an actor, I also studied to be a primary school teacher with a view that when I wasn't working as an actor, which frankly would have been all the time, had I ever become a professional actor, I could be a teacher to pay the mortgage, right? So that was this logic. So I qualified primary school teacher. And one of the things I learned doing what we used to call teaching practice, where you basically went and did as it sounds, you worked with teachers, was that every teacher in the world, even the ones who are less gifted or less flamboyant or less kind of A-list teachers, every single one of them has a great lesson inside of them. And then the best ones obviously have thousands of great lessons inside of them. And my idea was, why don't we get every teacher in the UK or to film that one lesson? What's your best lesson in the world? You've got one lesson to give the world. Get it on video. You talking to camera. A condensed sort of 20-minute lesson on whatever your best subject is. Film it. Send it to us. We'll assess it, and then we'll structure it, and we'll basically build the curriculum, the British curriculum, with all these amazing video lessons from these amazing teachers, and we'll scale them so the best ones come to the top. So the best lecturer, the best GCE GCSE, on gravity will go to the top. And so eventually you'll have the whole curriculum of amazing lessons on video, so that kids who either can't get into school for either reasons that they're not allowed into school, or they can't get to school for other reasons because they're in hospital, or they don't get on with their teacher, or they have to redo a whole year, or kids in Mozambique, or kids in Papua New Guinea can actually sit down and watch the British curriculum of amazing lessons. And we had teachers from Eton.
And just because what was the benefit for the teachers to do this? Because I thought it was because obviously you want people to do. So how did the model work?
Yeah, how did so the model was very simple. The model was we built this website repository called O2 Learn. We will stimulate you with a competition. So we will every month the best rated lesson. It was literally, it's like gift gab, thumbs up, thumbs down. I love a bit of power of the community, right? That's one of my little things in life, is just wisdom of crowds, get the community to vote. So we'd moderate the lessons to check they were factually correct. And then the community, which was teachers and kids, would do a thumbs up, thumbs down. And the best lesson that month with the most views won a prize. And they won a prize for the teacher, because teachers, frankly, are underpaid. Yeah. And it was a serious prize. That's great. Like a £5,000 prize, and then also a prize for the school. So it was £5,000 for the teacher, £5,000 for the school, and that was the kind of tangible bit. The intangible bit was, again, I knew from a lot of teachers were like me, frustrated performers, actors. They loved sharing they loved showing off in front of a camera. They loved sharing their lesson. A lot of them got the kids involved. A lot of them got the school involved. So for a great teacher, we all remember our best teacher, and you go, isn't it a shame that the best teacher we ever had couldn't spread his message around the world, or certainly around the country?
Amazing.
So you had this kind of sort of insight into teachers' psychology. The schools obviously loved it, because to have a winning teacher on O2 Learn suddenly became a thing. And for a period of time, Philippa, it was quite a big deal. At one point, we were the largest lesson repository in the world. We had more lessons than any. It was amazing. We had the government minister, I can't remember his name, Nick Gibb, was ringing me saying how amazing it was. I was awarded a prize by the government gave us some amazing innovation award. They had the unions behind us. We had the schools behind us. Like I said, we had Eton. We had Eton College on there. It was one of those. Everyone loved it. The O2 loved it because it was really good for the brand. We had
it still going?
TV. Do you know what? It was so annoying. They pulled it not that long ago, probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So we launched it in 2012. So the year I did my lectures, somewhat probably inspired by David, and it ran for about 6 years. So I think they pulled it 2 or 3 years ago. And it's so frustrating, because I think it was the best idea I've ever had. I think it's a better idea than gift gab. And it was growing. The kids loved it, teachers loved it, the schools loved it, O2 loved it. It was back to the win-win-win thing we said about Thai. And I was really proud of it. Anyway, so that's the gist of my lecture is how actually you can actually take your skill set. So I had an insight in teachers. I was a brand marketeer. I had access to some CSR budget, and I had, frankly, access to O2's lovely resources of building websites and getting ads on TV. And I managed to turn it into something that you would never naturally do, which was a website to inspire kids through better learning, through the best teacher lessons out there. Mash them all together, and you've got a lovely little idea that's
powerful and impacts people.
It was a beautiful thing.
Well, and so that brings me, because a huge congratulations, and my hat goes off to you, because to be able to make change within any company is not easy. And obviously, you have so many barriers, and you have to you come up with the idea, and half the time you hear no, and you have to keep pushing. And so, that's one of the things that we really help people to sort of fire them up, to have enough confidence and energy to then say, okay, I'm willing to kind of make this stuff happen, whatever it is, because it's not easy. And to have actually managed to do it, for it to be so successful, for it to run 6 years is a long time and impact so many people, congratulations. It's an example. What I'm really wanting for our listeners is to understand, this kind of stuff can happen within massive corporations like O2. It just needs an idea. And then you just need to have the just the confidence and the energy and the determination to make it happen. And it's amazing what can happen when you do that. And I think just one thing that I wanted to, because we are running out of time, but there's another 2 questions that I have for you. And this next one, I don't know if you can do it quickly, but like just, I think one of the other things that you do cover off in the Do lecture is just overcoming just obstacles. And, you faced some pretty significant obstacles in your life. You talk about time being important. You talk about sort of, embrace life while you can, but also, there will be obstacles and, despite those, keep fighting because good things will happen. And I guess maybe that's where your podcast idea came from, which is obviously, amazing despite. And I just wonder if you can where did that theme come from? And again, we are running out of time, but I just really want to, for you to cover that off because I just think it's so important.
That's a beautiful segue. I love that, Philippa. So my podcast is on behalf of the Do Lectures, and it is Being Amazing Despite. And what it is trying to talk to people who have achieved amazing things, but rather than just celebrate their amazing things and the success, which often is how we are trained to do. We always go, that's amazing, aren't you brilliant, move on. What I try to get in the podcast is to talk to people about some of the hurdles they've had to overcome to achieve that amazingness. And in doing so, inspire the rest of us who are on the journey of amazingness, who when you get knockbacks or when you stuff up or when you can't get funding for your idea or when you lose your job, you can actually pick yourself up and crack on and keep going. And actually the persistence and the perseverance and the dealing with the knockbacks, building resilience, is a part of most successful people's stories. And so what I'm trying to do in the podcast is sort of lots of things. I'm trying to build the brand awareness of the Do Lectures. And so I'm trying to stay true to their brand, which is not difficult at all because it's an amazing brand, but it can't just be a chat with Gav at home, coffee with Gav. The second bit is to try and, interesting stories that frankly people want to listen to. There's lots of podcasts out there. And as you know, Philippa, people tune in, they tune out. So you've got to kind of tell a story. And then thirdly, stories that I think I can get inspired by and get animated by. So that's where the idea came from. It was, it came out of a conversation with David and Claire last summer where I was feeling pretty down in the dumps, frankly. I'd been unemployed for 6 or 7 months. I'd lost my job just before COVID. And I was pretty down. And I went to see them the day that Wales came out of lockdown. It was kind of funny. I just went for a long drive. My wife just said, look, go for a drive. And I ended up going away for 3 days. It sounds more weird than it was. And I literally drove from London to their place in Cardigan Bay and kind of turned up.
That's great.
And was sitting there. They said, how are you? And I said, I'm pretty down. And we was like, how can we help? And it was one of those weird things. I have to just mention this because it's so bizarre. We were sitting in their farm, having a beer. It was a beautiful sunny kind of June, July day. And we David said, how can we help? And I said, I don't really know. I want to help you guys, but I want it to help me. And I just sort of said, have you ever thought of podcasts? Because everyone was doing podcasts in lockdown last year. You guys never done podcasts. Have you ever considered that? And they were like, yeah, we've sort of thought about it. We've never kind of done it. And I was going, well, how about, why don't I do a podcast series for you? Because I'd really enjoy it. It's a good skill for me to learn. I don't know anything about it, but it feels like it's something that I'd enjoy. And at the same time, it'd be good for you guys. We can just spread the word of Do and also get into new channels and hopefully get some new kind of awareness. And everyone was me, Claire and Dave were going, it's a nice idea. And at that moment, so weird this, it sounds like I'm nuts. This massive kind of flock of birds, like literally 100 birds flew over the Cardigan Bay coming towards us in a V-shaped sort of arrow formation.
I don't doubt it for a moment. And
as they were flapping their wings, the sort of light shone off them. It's like a neon light. And I looked up and said, what is that? Assuming this happens all the time. And they've lived there like 20 odd years. They went, we've never seen that before in our lives. We don't know what that is. That's a phenomenon we've never seen before. And these birds were like pointing at us. It was one of those really weird moments.
That's
so we just went, right, we got to do it. And actually, again, but what I love about Claire and David, they literally said that night, right, we're doing it. And I think the first podcast was live within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was sort of, amazing. They gave me all the tools, they bought the equipment for me. they said, look, we'll support you with the marketing, we'll support you, but actually you've got to do it on your own, and that was great for me as a ex-CMO who used to have a team of 320 odd people to be given a task, and you go off and do this, find the guests, do the record, do the research, do the interviewing, do the edits. We'll give you an editor, but you can do the edit and just get on with it. It was such a blessing, and actually it's helped me through lockdown, and I love it, and I'm really proud to be representing them. And
I just totally. So I think just because there's one last thing I just want to quickly ask you, but before I do, just a quick shout out to the listeners. Please do check in to the Do Lectures podcast, because there are some really incredible, I've listened to more of The Amazing Despite. There's a whole other series as well, but I think I've listened to every single one of the Amazing Despite ones, and there's just some really incredible stories. And interestingly, I just feel all of them linked to Thai. I swear, every single time I listen to any of them, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, sort of leadership with a purpose. Leadership, it's just amazing. So I think anyone who's listening to Thai Unearthed, I think you'll also really enjoy the podcasts. And of course, the Do Lectures, and your Do Lecture particularly, because I really wanted to hear some of your incredible stories of you being amazing despite, but I don't think we have time for it now, but you do get it from the lecture, and I do highly recommend. I'll put the link to it in the description. So please, all of you, just click on the description, and then you can listen to Gav's amazing Despite story, which is pretty incredible. But just as we wrap up, it is. But I just want to, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to tell our listeners just as we wrap things up?
Well, the question everyone sort of asks me is what next? I've had a very blessed career. I had 13 years in ad agencies, working with some of the best people in the world on some of the most successful campaigns. And I've had 13 years or 14 years as a client for amazing companies like O2, GiveGav, Paddy Power, Bowden, Yopa. I'm at this kind of point. I'm 50 last week, and what is next? I'll be honest, I have spent a lot of the last 12 months trying to get another CMO job, quite hard to come by. But actually, in a way, having this time to reflect, having some time to spend with my family. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. Having time to spend with my wife, having time to do the podcasts has actually been a real blessing. Even now, you kind of go, gosh, that was a waste of a year. Well, it wasn't really, because I've done lots of stuff. I am looking for another job, but at the same time, I'm also doing stuff that I would never normally have done. I'm coaching a few people. I'm hoping to do Thai with you, but yes, I am looking for another CMO job where I can, make an impact and also, do some good as well. So feel free to hit me on LinkedIn, and my podcasts are out every fortnightly Friday. They come out in the morning, and please, Do Lectures podcast.
Do sign up. You can subscribe, and your LinkedIn details will be on the bio. And just amazing. Honestly, you're such a breath of fresh air. You are very funny, so maybe you could do some stand-up comedy in your spare time.
That could be my next career.
Who knows? Good. Listen, it's been a real pleasure, Gav. Thank you so much for joining Thai Unearthed. And I look forward to our next conversations.
Good. Thanks very much, and good luck with Thai. It's an amazing idea. Take care.
Thanks. Bye. Hey everyone, this is Philippa again. So this is your chance to get involved with Thai. We have 3 absolutely amazing virtual opportunities available, all rooted in connecting the private sector with the social sector to make change. Thai has never been more necessary than right now. So if you're looking for life-changing leadership development opportunities for your employees and you want your company to impact the world, we've got you covered. If you're looking to step out of your comfort zone and use your skills to make a difference and keen to meet other like-minded professionals with similar values, then our Thai Accelerator program is for you. There are so many options, so I urge you to get in touch. Go to theinternationalexchange.co.uk for more information, or just shoot us an email. Better companies, better leaders, better world.